Greeting interwebs, it's JackitK, and welcome for this edition of the Pokemon Go Fireside Chat editorial. We'll be talking about Turtwig Community Day, and it'll be divided into two parts. First half will be recorded today on Saturday before Community Day, just to give my initial thoughts of everything we know before going in, and maybe some predictions along the way. Secondly, I'll try to do a quick recording when I get back from Community Day on Sunday to give some of my initial thoughts with how the Community Day went and personal experiences I've had going through said Community Day. Getting started, this is shaping up to be a fairly interesting Community Day, at least for a starter. I'm not sure if it's quite grind hard for 3 hours type of excite, but I am looking forward to it nevertheless. First of all, Torterra is a pretty interesting starter, because it's the first grass ground type that we've gotten to work with within Pokemon Go. And from what I recall, we haven't had too many opportunities, if there has been any Pokemon, released main series-wise or otherwise, that have the type combination of grass ground. And you know, with the way Sylph League works, anytime a Pokemon has a unique type combination, it's worth holding on to just to see if it comes up in the cup in the future. Especially when it gets the most powerful grass type move in the game. I mean, come on, it hasn't officially been revealed yet, which, I mean, Niantic. You gotta stop waiting to the very last minute. You can afford to, announce this sort of stuff a week before to initiate some hype and all. But even with that said, I'm fairly confident it's going to be Frenzy Plant. And when you're getting a Community Day move that powerful, it's definitely worth having at least one PvP Pokemon just for that. I'm not sure if it's really going to be raid relevant, just because there's more powerful grass type Pokemon than Torterra, but when I think more about it, I guess it's possible it might have situations that outpaces Venusaur in, maybe against other ground types. You know, maybe there's some things I can Google real quick. You know, take all this with a grain of salt, because I'm just doing casual research at best. But I quickly pulled up the stats for Venusaur and the stats for Torterra, and I actually surprised myself. Torterra has better overall stats. Not only is the CP of Torterra better, let me see, Torterra having a max CP of 2934, while Venusaur has a max CP of 2720. Torterra has better attack, much better stamina, and its defense is only worse than Venusaur by 1 point. So, I mean, yeah, if Torterra and Venusaur end up having the same moveset via Torterra getting Frenzy Plant, I'm surprised no one's talking about this, but if that's true, then Torterra is going to be the superior grass type. I guess we've had the speculation with Sceptile, because Sceptile has way better attack than Venusaur, if I recall. But it just was more of a glass cannon than anything, so there wasn't really too much reason to justify so many of them, I guess. But it seems like at least I'll be getting use out of the lucky Grovile or Growtiles pre-evolves of Torterra that I have ready for a Community Day, because it seems like it's gonna outpace Venusaur if these numbers are lining up. Again, this is assuming that Torterra's gonna get Frenzy Plant as Community Day move, and I don't believe we're aware of what his Community Day move is quite yet. But I'd be willing to bet a hard hat that it's going to be Frenzy Plant. Maybe they'll do... I do like the trend that we're doing with the Gen 3 starters, where we got a Community Day move, and then a pseudo Community Day move. Like with Sceptile. Sceptile didn't get one because technically it already had... what was it called? Razor Leaf? which for at least the introduction of the Pokemon in the main series game, no, not Razor Leaf. Give me a sec to look this up because it's going to bother me otherwise. Leaf Blade, that's what it was. Leaf Blade was already kind of a signature move for Sceptile, at least in the generation it was introduced in the main series game. But when Torchic came around, they introduced Blaze Kick as a move it could permanently learn, even after the Community Day window, and that's kind of been well associated with Blaziken. And similar with Swampert, Muddy Water is often associated with Swampert. So on top of giving it Hydro Cannon for Community Day, they made Muddy Water a move it could learn even after Community Day. And I do like the way this works. It still gives that sense of exclusivity for people who can actually play on Community Day, but it allows for people who missed it to not completely miss out. They still have a alternative they can use to hopefully make the Pokemon significantly more viable than it was before. Anyways, backpedaling to the original topic at hand, it'd be nice if they did something like that with Torterra. Though with its unique grass ground typing, I actually would like them to do a ground type move as that second alternative. As much as it would be exciting to break away from the mold, people forget why the molds happened in the first place, because these moves are incredibly good and associated. Every starter's been associated with these special moves since the third generation where the moves were introduced. So it would just feel empty not to have that as a Community Day move, despite how boring that sounds. Trust me, it just wouldn't be the same without those moves. But I think having the second special move is a fair compromise. Man, that was all speculation just over the move. I haven't even talked about the good stuff that comes with this Community Day. For one, objectively the best bonus for anyone that's level 40 already, Triple Stardust for catching will be the bonus. So if you got plenty of star pieces, this 3-hour time frame would be the best time to run them. And additionally, like if you have research stacked up, like found some Blastoise during the Water Festival that you haven't caught yet, or other second stage evolutions, it would be a good time to let those out as well. It's a little hard for me to recommend to do that if you're already looking for Turtwig, because you do get only the 3 hours to hunt, and once the 3 hours are up, even though you have an extra hour to evolve, you don't get that bonus anymore. But for players who are well set with the Turtwigs that they want to evolve already, you may want to squeeze some time to catch your field research Pokemon as well. Also, if you're more interested in Stardust than you are in Turtwigs and its evolution family, that's also could be more incentive to still go out and play for the whole time, but maybe not focus as hardly on Turtwigs. Plus, it doesn't take too long to go through your field research. Catch all the extra stuff if you know what you're doing. And I feel like you already have to know how stacking works to have any of this even apply. As per usual, lures will last for 3 hours. Pretty much like you set them during the start of Community Day and they last for the whole time frame. Remember that if you're hunting for Turtwig, do not use the special lures because they will not attract extra Turtwigs. Only the standard lures will attract extra Turtwigs. And last but not least, a shiny. Shiny Turtwig is pretty cool. Grotle, the middle stage, is pretty nice as well. And Torterra is not as bad as I feel people making it out to be. Sure, it's very similar in color to the non-shiny variant. At least from the screenshots I'm looking at it though, it looks more mossy, and that has a bit of appeal in of itself. It looks similar to the original Torterra, but more mossy, which was much better than I was expecting it to be from the speculation I heard. And I know I should know this stuff because I've been playing the main series game, but I don't really shiny hunt too often. I didn't really get into the shiny hunt scene until after Pokemon Go came out. So you can't expect, when there's like over 1,000 Pokemon in the series, you can't expect me to remember every single shiny at every single moment. Enough justification put aside, shiny Grovyle or shiny Torterra looks like it'll be nice, but I don't necessarily blame you if you want to like save a couple Turtwigs in the base form, because I will admit, shiny Turtwig does stand out a lot more, and the middle state has its own appeal as well. It's like Grovyle has like the yellow shell, but its shiny form has it all green. Collectors are going to want to have one of each state anyways, and as long as you're playing for the 3 hours in a fairly well dense Pokemon area, you shouldn't have problems getting 3 shinies at least. Last but not least though, something unique for this community day that I'm real hype about. This is going to be the first community day where we can get a Shadow Pokemon and then evolve it within the community day window. I'm real hype about that. I was out pretty much going to every dark Pokestop I could last night trying to find a Turtwig. And while I couldn't find a Shadow Turtwig, I can't really complain because I got 2 Shadow Larvitars. And my shiny luck was just out of the roof. My Pokemon Go luck in general was so good last night. It was the best luck I've ever had. I don't have any room to complain. Still, like, if I can find a Shadow Turtwig before or even during Community Day, that'd be nice. Ideally before, so I can actually find a friend to trade it with. Because here's the thing of why you should be excited about finding a Shadow Turtwig before Community Day. Purified Pokemon have a decreased Stardust discount, as well as a decreased Candy discount. And this stacks if you trade the Pokemon and becomes lucky. Mind you, you can't trade a Shadow Pokemon. You also can't get a Shadow Pokemon with the Community Day move. So you do have to purify it before learning the move. Now, last I checked, they said you had to TM away return before evolving it into its final form in order to get the Community Day move. However, the latest news article from the Pokemon Go app that talks about the new Shadow Pokemon specifically mentions you have to purify it before evolving in order to get the Community Day move, because Shadow Pokemon can't learn it. However, that specific article did not say you had to TM away return. I could have sworn some source before said you did, but the fact that they didn't specify this, despite it being a critical detail, makes me wonder if you can get away without TMing it. I'm sure by the time Community Day happens and this goes up, I'll be able to confirm through other sources if that's actually the case. Still, like, if you really want to move. So yeah, I think that's all I really got to say, at least until I actually do Community Day. So I'll see you then. Come one, come all. Before I go into my haul, I have some things to clarify in regards to the whole Turtwig Community Day, and hopefully a quick little battle will be enough time for me to do just that. So, as I mentioned before, I thought I was recording this the day before Turtwig Community Day. Turns out that it was still a whole week away. Problem number 1. Problem number 2. Since then, we did get revealed exactly what the Community Day move was going to be for Torterra, and sure enough, it was the good old Frenzy Plant. I don't think they actually announced the second move though, which honestly I feel like was a rather missed opportunity, but what's one gonna do? I think that was the main thing I wanted to talk about before going into Turtwig Community Day. I'm not sure if it's just me trying to stall for time to complete this battle, but I have this weird feeling that I am forgetting something, but if I am, it'll definitely get covered when we actually get into talking about my Community Day. I'll admit, I went a bit longer than I thought I would for the community day. I mean, for one, I guess I was just having an absent-minded week, because not only did I forget that the community day wasn't until a week away, today, for some reason, I thought it went from 11 to 1, thinking that was 3 hours for some crazy reason, and it actually ended up going 11 to 2. So I was honestly out a little bit longer than I was expecting, but that is what it is. I hate to keep delaying. You know what? Just give me a moment to cut away. I realized that I've been trying to feed this little gibble for pretty much ever since community ended, but there was a raid going on, so I wasn't able to feed it properly. Gibble gets all of my berries until it pops up all the Garchomp candy that I could possibly desire. Boop boop doop 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 doop. Alright, now for the moment of truth. I had an amazing community day, and not just... Oops, that's showing up a little bit sooner than I thought it would. But I had a fantastic community day. It was a right combination of plenty to do, plenty to get, and friends to have a lot of fun with. Let me just go over the halls first and see how tired I am afterwards. You can tell it's a half hour after the spawns officially ended. So if I can organize my shiny so I can showcase this off, because man, I got myself 10 shiny Turtwigs, which feels like it's been forever since I've gotten that many out of community day. It just felt really generous this time around, but I can't complain about that. In addition though, I got myself my first purified Pokemon with a community day move. And I was indeed wrong. You don't need to use TMs before you purify and evolve it all the way. As long as it's purified when it hits the final evolution, it will learn the signature move. So that's all fine and dandy. But yeah, there's that one, but I had so many Shadow Turtwigs just on Community Day, because I was hunting for them before Community Day with no luck. But just during the course of Community Day, I got 4 of them on top of the one I purified just now. And I know it wasn't the case where all the rocket stops were just Turtwigs, because I did get Shadow Zubat, I did get Shadow Rattata, I did get plenty of other Shadow Pokemon while grinding through them. So it's not a case like everything else with Community Day where they decided to make everything from eggs to raids revolve around Turtwig. I'll get to that. But even though that was probably the lesser point of Community Day, but there's so much good and fun to talk about with it, why focus on that? Also got myself... I had these lucky Turtwigs / Growls waiting to evolve, so I got them. So I didn't really even need to evolve any more Turtwigs, but I wanted to evolve at least one good IV one. So this is why I have that guy. And I would have stopped there, but I also wanted to get one from PvP. But the one... This was going to be my PvP guy because of the IVs, but you can obviously see that his CP of 2354 is way too high for Great League, which is the only league I really personally compete in. So I've decided to evolve 2 others. This guy, who's okay, but his attack's a little too high. And then this guy, who, even though his CP is real low, is probably the guy I actually wanted to evolve for PvP. It's not even that huge of a deal because I don't know if Torterra doesn't have the best PvP moveset, but with its unique typing I wanted to have one just in case. Yeah, I talked about the 10 shinies I had, talked about the 5 Shadow Pokemon Turtwig I got. The Luckies. Oh yeah, this is one, like, it was a girl that I've been meaning to trade for a while, and figured, like, I have like a bazillion Turtwig candy, costs me no Stardust. I might as well evolve it all the way, that way when I'm trying to trade it away for extra candy, or to help someone else get extra candy, they at least get a cool Community Day Pokemon out of it. And I definitely only needed one Torterra, but this was my best IV one. But I had so many shiny Turtwigs, I figured I'd at least get one more, especially considering how many shinies I got. So the thing is, I told myself I was gonna limit how many I evolve for sake of box space, and I learned nothing. That's not even the end of like all the fun stuff that happened during Community Day, though. I met up with a friend. We've been playing together in Pokemon Go for Community Days for a while now, and we finally got an opportunity to do a trade, because we reached Lucky Friends and all that. So after some thought, I decided to trade him one of my extra shiny Entei for his shiny Lugia that he had extra of stuff. So now I have myself a lucky red Lugia, and I couldn't be happier. It costs like a ton of Stardust, like 40,000 Stardust, but hey, I say it's worth it. You know what, since I have these TMs just burning a hole in my pocket, why don't I just like give it the Psychic moveset as is? I'm not sure if I probably will never actually use it for raids, but maybe with how much freaking Stardust I have, yeah, like over 1 million, it might be worth evolving. Yeah, that even with that $40,000 Stardust, I still have so much to go through. To be fair, I was sitting at like I was sitting over 1 million before Community Day started. Point being, it was well worth the trade. And give me a sec to scroll through here, get Pink done, some other inspiration, and do some trades. That Kabuto was a few days before Community Day, but you guys watching the video have seen it, so now I don't have to worry about. I probably will still bring it up on Game and Chill, but at least I don't have to worry about it getting left out for some reason. Guess I could take a little time to talk about the Community Day itself. If I could find a good place to actually sit back and go into some filler. So, I was going into Community Day fairly content, ready to just do my good old thing of just grinding it out. But then I met up with my friends from the area that I play Community Day on, and we did a lot. I pretty much spent the whole day with them just walking, catching. I separated every now and then because I was really content on just catching as much as I can. Not only to get as many shinies as I can, but because of the Stardust bonus. For those who weren't paying attention to the beginning of the podcast or skipped because you already seen the first half of it already, Turtwig Community had a 3 Stardust bonus. So that was like your main incentive to actually go out and play, even if you weren't really content on Turtwig, because honestly, there's not really too much special about Torterra. Frenzy Plant is a very good grass type move, so like if you missed out on Venusaur Community Day, Frenzy Plant Torterra was definitely a good alternative, but even with that said, it's still something that you may have missed out on and not lost out too much. Again, I'm real surprised they didn't like add a new move like they've done with all the Gen 3 starters. Maybe because they had an obvious signature move, while the Gen 4 Pokemon didn't. Although I feel like the Gen 4 Pokemon did have like a notable signature move like Wood Hammer. I forget if any other Gen 4 Pokemon got it. I know other Pokemon eventually got Wood Hammer, but at the time I believe it was Torterra's signature move. And maybe that's it, because I can't really think of what the signature move for Infrape or Empoleon would be. So I spent a lot of the day hanging out with friends. We caught shinies, I witnessed a car accident. As I was saying though, we caught shinies, we hang out together and talk. And afterwards, like, I think the initial plan was me going to get a calzone, because honestly I've been craving a calzone for over a month at this point, and every time I go to get calzone, something comes up. And wouldn't you know, as I was going over to the pizza place to get a calzone, I met up with the friends. I'm separated from my friends, but I saw them out of the corner of my eye, so I walked over to say goodbye to them. And they were like, we're gonna go over to the pizza place for pizza. You wanna come along? I'm like, sure. And then I get there and it's like, dude, pizza slices, my treat. And like, as I was saying, no, we went over to get pizza. It was your treat. So, one good news, free pizza. Bad news, I gone without a calzone again. To be fair, this was probably the better option, and I think I'm just gonna go to Wegmans and pick up myself a calzone from like their pre-made food thing and just cook it up at home. Probably cheaper anyways. Good enough for me. And I came home, cleaned up my box, and here we are now. I guess I did promise I would talk a little bit more about my overall thoughts on the community day. So here's the thing, Turtwig Community Day suffered a bit too much on the Rouseritis. You know, if you were playing on Rouse Community Day, the fact that raids would pop up with routes, 10-kilometer eggs popped up and only hatched routes, and that was a time when the bonus was faster incubators, and man, people were salty, dare I say angry, over that. And honestly, I'm on the one hand, we at least got a forewarning in advance that all 2-kilometer eggs. So the two things I have here are probably still Turtwigs. But overall, Turtwig came out eggs. They forewarned us that in advance. I guess they must have increased the amount of shell Turtwigs at the very least, because it seemed pretty weird that I've been actively looking out for Go Rocket stops ever since that announcement came through, and only just now got my Shadow Turtwigs. And they also, pretty much every raid that was 1 star, for those of you who don't know the raid tier system, tier 1 raids are, when you go to click on it, and look around the top with either the egg or the Pokemon, you'll see like an icon of a weird monster head icon. The number of monster head icons that appear pretty much indicates on what tier it is. So 1 head is tier 1, 2 heads is tier 2, and etc. And I think this is good. I might as well bring this up, even though it's very off tangent, because I saw it come up on Twitter, and it's going to be a question that comes up a lot more when Mewtwo comes around. Tier 6 is technically not a tier that exists. It only exists 1 to 5. However, during the first time that Mewtwo came out of raids, outside of EX raids, they actually bumped up the difficulty of Mewtwo beyond a normal 5-star raid. Hence dub 6-star raid, or tier 6 raid. So, my overall thoughts, I think it was a bit overkill. I feel like Niantic forgets that part of the joys of actually having raids and hatching eggs during Community Day isn't to get more of the Pokemon that we're already catching. In the perspective of raids, is to get a chance to do legendary Pokemon that people who don't normally have friends or a Facebook, Discord, etc. community to meet up with, they're going ahead and getting a chance to work together to get a legendary Pokemon they normally wouldn't get. And with eggs, especially with the incubator bonus, it's more of a chance for us to hatch eggs to get the rare Pokemon that we're seeking. Gibble. Oh, pardon me, I must still be recovering from that little head cold a little. And I'm totally not being sarcastic. Is there sarcasm in that statement of me not being sarcastic? well, you'll have to just observe the information provided very, very closely to figure out that. I am okay with Go Rockets appearing with the way Go Rocket's been handled during community days, though. I can see why some people would find it annoying because they just want to spin the stops and get the resources, and a lot of people wouldn't want to battle while doing community day. I am probably the exception because I'm actually obsessed with this whole Shadow Pokemon system purely from nostalgia base. But indeed, it is a thing that you can do. And I honestly don't think it's too distractive. Worst case scenario, you can spin the stop, hit the X button, and move along your way. It's a little more intrusive, but you don't have to fight it. Meanwhile, people who do want to fight it, especially if they're going to keep introducing the Community Day Pokemon as a Shadow Pokemon going forward, gives everyone an opportunity to get Shadow Turtwigs, and it's not a strong perk to the point where I can actually justify taking the time away from getting more shinies, but there is one perk to Purified Pokemon over a normal Pokemon. As you see here, I'm going to have to double check to make sure that's not a glitch, because I'm pretty sure starters only take 10 candy though. Oh, it's 25 candies, not 20, but you see the point. A Purified Pokemon takes less energy, or less candy and Stardust to power up and learn new attacks. That's not a good example because that Purified Torterra is much higher in level than the non-Purified Torterra, so obviously the Purified one will still take more to power up. But if I was to max out this Torterra, and I was to max out a Purified Torterra of a similar level, it would technically take less Stardust. It's not as good as if it's a Lucky Pokemon in the Stardust department, but Lucky Pokemon also don't have a candy discount. So it depends on how badly you want it. If we ever get a Gibble Community Day and Shadow Gibble, it might be worth taking the time to try to get a good IV Shadow Gibble, purify it, and evolve it during the Community Day to save yourself on Stardust. If you can find a way to trade it and get a Lucky, because yes, Shadow Pokemon cannot be traded, but if your Purified Pokemon can, even though it counts as a special trade, so you can only do it once a day, making it a bit of a hassle to try to get that Purified Lucky, pretty much guaranteeing that you have to wait until you're lucky friends with someone to really get it to pull off. But if you can get it to pull off, the discount of Stardust between a lucky friend or a lucky Pokemon and the discount of a Purified Pokemon stacks. So a lucky Purified Pokemon will save you the most Stardust when it comes to powering it up, or even teaching it a new move. Because while lucky Pokemon don't get a discount for learning a new move, a Purified Pokemon does. Well, that was a bit of a tangent, but I think I got everything out of the way. Yeah, they still have some things to learn about these new implementations they're introducing into Pokemon Go Community Days. I can't get too mad at it, because I appreciate them trying to spice up the whole Community Day formula. But I definitely sympathize with the fans that say that don't like it, because I can agree that it's a bit too intrusive, especially force feeding us more eggs of the Community Day Pokemon and putting them in raids. They definitely don't need to put them in raids, in my opinion. And in my opinion, they don't need to put them into eggs because we're catching plenty. But I can see a perk of if you're playing in an area where there's not too many spawns because you don't have a good spawn area to play at. It could give you a chance to still get that shiny. But there's gotta be a way that appeases both the urban and rural player. I know, because honestly, I don't really consider myself an urban player, more so in between. And technically, the areas at home I play are rural. I just live within driving distance. Not even to a city, but to an area that's urban enough to have the Pokestops needed to actually pull something like that off. Anyways, I'm rambling. The screen capture's not doing anything, so it's just wasting time. So I think I'm going to end it off here. Thank you all for tuning in to this Turtwig retrospective, which, wow, 40 minutes is actually way longer than I thought I would be spending talking about it, but I guess it helps that we've had some new things introduced / adjust for this community day. So we had some opportunity to talk critically about it. I know you're probably doesn't sound too fair for me to keep saying we when it's just me doing the talking. I'll admit that's like just me being in the Let's Playing habit. However, I'm not opposed to you guys like shouting out in the comments or messaging me on Twitter at JackitStuff. Go ahead and tweet at me if you got your own opinions on Turtwig Community Day. How well did you guys do? How many did you get? Do you think that Turtwig should be coming out of raids and eggs? I did forget to mention, like, they came out of 2 kilometer eggs this time, and considering we have the bonus for the ultra rewards that cuts incubator time in half, so the eggs basically only take 1 kilometer to hatch. If we could have a situation where eggs always take 1 kilometer to hatch, I'd be less opposed. A lot of my criticism would still stand, but I could definitely see the perks to it in that particular situation. I don't know, but this is not about me, it's about you guys. Let me know what you guys think about your Turtwig Community Day and the changes that happened to it. Okay, I forgot a couple things, so I wanted to throw it right at the end. Disclaimer number 1, no one was hurt in that accident, thank God. But I'm sure some people have been very, very inconvenienced, and saying that is an understatement. Secondly, I forgot to talk about the new time frame of 11 to 2, and not 11 to 1 like I thought. It's a slippery slope, especially because I technically never did the 11 to 2 time frame, because 11 to 2, back when it was a thing, was before it was in local time. So for me, it was in an even more convenient time frame than this one. I'll admit I forget exactly what it is. I think it was like 2 to 5 in my time zone, which worked out perfectly for me because I could have my community day, head straight home, have dinner with the family after having dinner, otherwise get to hang out with friends after community day ends. I'll admit I was one of the few people that was actually excited for the 11 to 2 time frame because having community day from the 4 to 7 time frame caused a few issues with me personally, and I wasn't quite a fan of it myself just because, well, it gets dark later in the evening. I assumed that I was not the only one that had issues with community days falling right into when families would have dinner and things like that, but I do sympathize with the people that this time frame does not work for them, especially on a Sunday when a lot of people are having religious ceremonies in the morning. I was actually surprised about how many people couldn't make community day because it was right in the middle of their religion ceremonies, only because I do have a little background in Christianity, and I thought you had to get up dead set early in the morning, like maybe 6 or 7 o'clock, and have your ceremony for an hour there. So I thought yeah, it'd be close, but people would have it done. But apparently not, because I haven't practiced religion in a while, at least to the degree that I know that most Christians celebrate or practice it. So I could see being an issue from that standpoint. It's just hard because it feels like Niantic can't win. No matter what time frame they pick, a group of people are going to be upset. And the fact that they just swap it so often upsets a completely different demographic of people altogether who are just trying to keep their heads straight, but they don't check they're more casual players, so they're not checking the news app every time there's a community day. And they've gotten used to the days when there was a bit more consistency with community days. So I just seeing it from Niantic's perspective, I just don't see a time frame that lets them please everyone, or even just enough people on the internet to not have a backlash when they pick a time. Like, I think it's a good thing that they started rotating between Saturday and Sunday, because some people have obligations that keep them from playing on Saturday. Other people have obligations that keep them playing on Sunday. I know I didn't really have a verdict one way or another, but I wanted to at least get my thoughts out there, even if they're just more thoughts and not really structured to a single point. I guess a point, if I had to force one, I'm sorry if you can't make that community day time frame. I hope that if Sunday at that time frame doesn't work for you, that Saturday will, because I do feel confident that they'll at least keep alternating between the 2 days to try to help as many people as possible. And I'm especially sorry for you if you're a weekend shift worker. I don't make the rules at JackitK. I wish there was something we can do to help you guys. And I know the counter arguments that would come up, but that's not what this video is supposed to be about. That's more for a topic of an editorial if I ever heard one. And that may take a hot minute because I have a backlog of editorial ideas as is, including finishing the Shadow Pokemon historical editorial. That won't be the next editorial I do, because I already started one in relation to the research breakthroughs, to give myself a little break. But I think the one after that I'll resume the Shadow Pokemon editorial. I do hope you tune in for some of those, and check out my YouTube channel for more content while you're waiting in between podcasts. Until then, I'll see you all later. Take care.